So in this AI agent, I'm taking Telegram messages. These messages contain PDF invoices as well as image receipts. And we're stripping all of this information off of the receipts that are images and off of the invoices, which are PDF documents. And we're uploading it into a Google Sheet line item by line item. Practically speaking, how this works is this AI agent is going to receive messages and it's going to call the right tool, whether we're processing documents or processing images. It'll take that information into these two subflows here, and then strip that info and put it into a Google Sheet. Let's try this out. I'm going to upload first the PDF document, and then we're going to try the image afterwards. Please process this PDF document. Okay, perfect. And we're going to go ahead and test this workflow out. This image has gone through. We're using the AI agent to determine which action we want to take or tool. In this case, we're going to be processing a document, and in real time, we should have this information populated onto our spreadsheet here. Now, I'm just pulling out standard stuff like the name and the price and the line item. And keep in mind, if there's multiple line items, it would showcase multiple of these and the invoice number and so on and so forth. But you could literally populate whatever it is that you want. We'll go ahead and now test this out with the image. So I'm going to go ahead and upload an image this time, and it's going to be that receipt. Please process this image of a receipt. Perfect. We'll circle back to our AI agent, and this time we're going to test with that image. And now we're going down the image path, and it's going to pull out all of the line items here. So instead of just having one line item, it's going to pull out 4 and create a row in our Google Sheet for every single one of these. And so let's just cross-reference this to make sure we're good. We have $19.99, $19.99, $24.99, and $24. Let's go back here. $19.99, $19.99, $24.99, and $24. So this looked good. It grabbed the total for everything as well, which is awesome. And so this kind of works out of the box. We are going to be building this from the ground up today using n8n. And the blueprints are also going to be free. So if this is something that you're like, holy crap, like I want to use this, I want to, be able to have this in my business or whatever, all you have to do is hit these 3 dots here, and then you can just import from a file, and the blueprints are going to be down below in the description absolutely for free. So with that being said, we're going to be building this from the ground up, starting right now. Okay, so this build is going to have 3 different workflows. The first is going to be the main AI agent here, where we're using Telegram to send and retrieve messages. The second one is going to be for processing images, okay? And then the third one is going to be for processing PDF documents. Let's get into building this live right now. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to go over and create a new workflow. And essentially, what I want to do is start with the trigger where are we actually receiving information from. And there's lots of different triggers here. I mean, like I'm going to use Telegram for today, but you could also use WhatsApp. You could also use Twilio. Twilio is like a text messaging platform. So you could do this via text messages as well. You'd even do this using Siri. I mean, there's just a, or Facebook Messenger, although that would probably be a bit more complicated on n8n at the time of this recording, but there's a lot of different options here. But just the easiest one to like actually get up and running would be Telegram, and for that reason I'm going to be using this. And the trigger that we want to use, and triggers are all these like lightning bolts here, right? Just meaning that it's going to start this workflow when one of these things happens, and the condition we want to choose is on message. So that just means when we receive a message, then it's going to work. And so the first thing that I want to do is I want to set up this Twilio or Telegram credentials here, just so that we can actually start receiving messages from our Twilio account. And when we receive these messages, then it's going to automatically start this particular workflow here. And how we do that is by connecting in another account. So you can see just like the disgusting amount of accounts that I've connected in. Should probably go ahead and delete those, but part of me just wants to get up to like 100. I don't know. I'll see how far I can take it. But what we're going to do is we need this access token, and we can find this in the Open Docs module here. And so this is just the documentation from n8n telling us how we can go ahead and set this up. And essentially all we have to do is just follow their access token documentation here. And so the first thing we need to do is create a chat with the bot father. The bot father, it cracks me up every time. Sweet. And then this is just going to prompt us to open Telegram on our computer or whatever. And you'll have to go ahead and create or get Telegram. It is absolutely free and it takes a couple seconds to download. You can get this in like the App Store or whatever. But I already have it, so I'm just going to go forward with this. And essentially, it's going to open this conversation up to the bot father up here. And from there, we just need to essentially close this tab and just follow the rest of the instructions. We'll grab this new bot command here, /new bot, and we'll plug it in here. And this is going to create a new bot for us. We need to do two things. The first thing is we need to choose a name for that. And then we're going to choose a username. And so for me, I'm going to do bot father fan club as my name. And then I'm going to do bot father fan club bot at the end here. And that's pretty much it. We have our official bot created. This is our access token right here. So you can see me where like I'm hovering over this. So we're just going to copy this and then we're going to delete or circle, or we're just going to close the documentation and paste that access token right in here. And then we are good to go. So we'll save that. And this is connected in. And now anytime we receive a message from there, from Telegram, we are going to receive it here. So we can go ahead and test this out by clicking test step. And what I want to do is just click this t.me bot father fan club bot here. It's going to start a new message when we click start here. And now we can see that message right here. We can go ahead and test it again. And I'll just put test here. And now we have the message test, and we're already receiving messages from Telegram into n8n in a matter of a couple minutes. So that's pretty cool. Now, specifically what I want to do is I want to focus not just on text messages, but I want to focus on PDF messages or image messages, or more, I guess more like file messages, right? So we'll circle back to Telegram. We're going to test this step out again. And this time, what we're going to do is we're going to upload a document. And I will include both of these in the blueprints as well, if you guys want to use these exact files. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to attach a file down here, and I'm going to upload I'm going to choose specifically the file. Just, you can choose photo, but just the way the data is formatted is slightly differently. So I would recommend choosing file here if you want to have the exact same setup as I do in this. And we're going to choose this PDF document. I'm just going to say process this PDF document, and we'll click send. And we can see down here, it's been sent. And circling back into our n8n platform, we have all the data as the output over here, which is cool. So we're already doing pretty well here. Now, the only thing is before I actually continue on with this workflow, what I want to do is just pin this data. And if we open this up, we have this pin button here. And that means that we don't have to circle back and forth between Telegram and n8n every single time we want to change things or send another message. It's just going to mean that we can move forward so much quicker. Next thing we'll do is we'll connect in an AI agent. And so with this AI agent, what we need to do is, first of all, just change this text down here. So this, you can think about the AI agent as just like, essentially a tool that that will be able to do whatever it is that you want. It can have a brain, a memory, and tools, and essentially using the brain and using a memory of past messages you've been sending back and forth, it can select the right tools to get the job done. So those tools could be processing an image, invoice, or a receipt, or processing a PDF, invoice, or receipt. And so out of the box, this almost works. We just need to make sure that the prompt we're giving it is correct. And when the text is red here, it means it's not correct and we got to change it. Otherwise, it's not going to work. And so what's going on here is that usually when you're using AI agents in ChatGPT, or sorry, in n8n, oh my gosh, the names just all blur together after a certain point in time. But when you're using this, it expects the trigger to be like this on message send, which is like the default, if you will, n8n messaging platform. But we're using something else. So if you're using Telegram, Twilio, WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, whatever it is that's not that default messenger, we're going to have to change this particular chat prompt. And how we do that is we have to connect another source. Okay. And so instead of connecting the chat node, we're going to define it below, and it's going to ask us, hey, we need to include a message here. Like, what message is it that we want to send in this AI agent for it to process? And that message is going to be this caption here. Okay, so if we look over at the initial message we had processed this PDF document, and that is the caption, which is right here, which we can see down here as well. And so that's good. We're good to go here. And as I was mentioning, with these AI agents, they do have a model, chat model, memory, and tool. And so with the chat model, you can choose whatever it is you want. I'm just going to be boring and choose OpenAI's chat model here, just because, well, I always use it and I'm just familiar with it. And you can select whatever model you want, but you can think about this as, and I'm just going to leave this as it is, but you can think about this like the brain of the operation. So this is going to be what essentially receives that message and how it processes the initial message. Any responses that it sends back, it's going to go through here and it's going to formulate that response. You can think about this like literally just ChatGPT in a sense. And so we're going to move this over to the side. We're good to go there. With the memory, we can use window buffer memory. In all honesty, we don't even need this for the setup, but I'm going to include it anyways. What window buffer memory is it's just essentially the AI agent's ability to recall past messages. Just like ChatGPT, you can ask it multiple messages and it's not only going to answer based on your previous, like the last message, but all the messages that came before it as well. And so with this, we just need to change one modification. It's trying to pull in the trigger, like the chat trigger node, but because we switched this over to Telegram, just like before, we need to define the particular chat key. And how we can do this is we can grab this chat ID here, and this chat ID is just a unique ID to that chat window. What this is essentially saying is that we need to store like a thread ID or an ID associated with this whole chat window that's unique, so that anytime it identifies this chat, it knows that, hey, it's this particular chat. Because you could upload 50,000 receipts, but it needs to understand, okay, which thread is this a part of, and it's gonna know that, right, based on this particular chat ID. And so this kind of distinguishes you from literally every other person also using Telegram in the world. So that's more or less the chat ID here. And then we can just we're going to do two more steps. We're going to add some tools in here for like the processing of the images and the processing of the PDF receipts. Just before we do that, I want to connect this up so that we can send messages back and forth and receive them back in Telegram. So we're going to hit this plus button here and we're going to choose Telegram. And so what we're doing here is we're sending a message back to ourselves after that Telegram, after the results have come in. So we'll choose send a text message. And we just need two things, which is the chat ID, so that we can connect it back into this particular chat. It knows where to send that message to. And we also need to include the text message. Now, typically there should be data in here on the left side for us to pull from, but we don't have that. So we just need to run this workflow one time before to load some test data in. So I'm going to test this run. We can see here that we ran into an error. And that is also because I have like 17 million different OpenAI API tokens here. And I connected one in that no longer works because I was furiously deleting them the other day because I was like, man, I just have way too many. It's like I always create these API tokens like every single video I do. And I just forget to delete them sometimes, which is a good reminder that if you need an API token and it didn't work here, you can go over to platform.openai.com and you can sign in to your account. And then from the dashboard down here, we can circle over to API keys and we can create an API key here. And so once you create this, I'm just going to call this 1234 test. We could create the secret key and then we could essentially copy that in. And similarly to before, we could create credentials and enter that API key right in here. And so that's essentially more or less how the API keys work with ChatGPT. You will need to add $5 onto this if you want to use something like ChatGPT. I think you could use Grok potentially for free if you want to bypass that. But yeah, the minimum payment to the ChatGPT API is $5, and that's a different fee than having a ChatGPT subscription. Okay, so we're good to go here. I just updated this and we'll test this one more time. And it looks like the workflow was successful. Everything's good to go. If we now connect these back in together, we should see the data on the left side here. And so all we need to do is just map this in. And mapping is just taking past results from previous modules and then putting them in the correct fields. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to enter in the chat ID in the chat ID section. And then in the text section, we can just enter in the output of the AI agent. And this is the message we're going to send back that the AI agent has generated for us. And it says, I'm unable to process PDF documents directly. However, I can help you with questions, summarize the content, or assist you with any specific information you may need. Okay. Cool. And we can just test this one more time just to make sure that message is coming through. Okay, sweet. So this is good. I just don't like this message was sent from automatically with n8n. So I'm just going to go ahead and remove that. So we're going to open up this module. We're going to add down at the bottom here. We're going to choose append n8n attribution, and we're going to turn that bad boy off because nobody likes that. I don't know why they put that there. Obviously, I know why they put that there. They want to market their stuff, but I don't want to be receiving that every single message I get back. Okay, cool. So that's more or less it. And then we can go ahead and we can enter in a prompt here. And so with this prompt, I'm actually just going to copy it over from my past module just to kind of speed up some time here and then walk you through what it means. We need to add like a system prompt here. And so if we add options, we can choose system message. And this is just providing context to the AI agent. I'm going to flip this over to expression over here just so we get access to this like button down here so that we can open up a bit bigger. And I'm going to say in my system prompt, your helpful assistant named, okay, this was like a combination of two different prompts, but I'm going to say your helpful assistant named Jono, I guess after me, and your task is to handle intelligent document processing. Tools. Number 1, call the document processing tool to handle OCR for PDF document processing. And number 2, call the image processing tool to handle any OCR for image processing. When user calls this tool, please start it immediately. The image will be passed through an ID and processed on the Subagent. No need to verify. So what's going on here? Well, I'm defining two tools. One is for processing PDFs. One is for processing images. And in both instances, we're using something called OCR to extract the data. And over here, I'm just saying like, hey, you don't need to verify this because sometimes it'll be like, hey, you need to upload the PDF or you need to upload the image. But the problem with this is that we're not actually executing the extraction of data from that image or PDF before this AI agent. It's expecting this stuff to be here before it lands at this stage, but we're actually not doing this at this stage. We're going to have sub tools that kind of do this for us. And so for that reason, it might get confused being like, hey, I don't have the data that you're telling me I should have, but that's okay because we're just passing in the ID of the file here to these sub tools. And then during these sub tools, what we're going to do is grab the file and then we're going to process it there, which means that we're good to go here. So we're all set. Now what we can do is we can save this and create a second flow. And this second flow is going to be for creating these, or for processing these PDF files. And so on this, we're going to add a first step here. And this is going to be executed by another workflow over here, just meaning that we're calling this workflow from our main AI agent. What I mean by calling is it's only going to start when we ask it to be started over here. So we'll go ahead and input data mode. And so with this, we can define the parameters that we want to pass from this AI agent into here. So like, because we have like an unstructured message here. And what we're getting here is essentially the ID of this file, and we're getting in the message here. And this is in an unstructured format because there's no structure to it. Like it could come in any single, like this message that we send here, it could contain anything, like a million and one things or a trillion or an infinite amount of things. And so because there's just so many possibilities of how that data could be structured, it's unstructured, and we want to more or less be able to pull out certain things like that image ID and information from that from that text, like the actual message or the context of what we're trying to do. And so we need to pass that information from here through the tool into this subagent. And here we're going to define what it is that we're actually looking to grab. And so I'm going to delete these two because there's just two things that I want to grab. Number one is I want to grab the ID of the file. And number two is I want to grab the message. And this message is just what we're asking it to do. Okay, so that looks good to me. And that's it for this module. We're just defining what is going to be passed from the main AI agent here into the secondary subflow here. And we can actually go ahead and connect these in. And how we do that is by clicking the tool section down here. And then we're going to call another n8n workflow over on the side here. And so with this, we're going to go ahead and just, first of all, name this PDF processor or whatever it is that you want. And this is going to be PDF tool. Actually, let me just see, yeah, PDF tool. And then I'm going to provide a description. What this description is essentially saying is like, how do you want to tell the AI agent when to use this tool, or when to say you should choose this tool out of all the other ones. And so I'm going to say call this tool if the user is looking to process or extract data from a PDF document. Okay, cool. And then we're going to connect it to this particular sub workflow down here. And so we can just choose from the list here. And I have changed this to my document, my workflow 38. It's probably not the best name, so I'm going to call this PDF documents. And then we can actually copy this name and just paste it in the search button here. It's not coming up because I saved it after this, after I searched for it. So I'm just going to close it and then open it back up again. And now it should appear. And so we have the message here and we have the ID here. And so this is looking pretty good. We can pass in the file ID from down below here. Okay. And so that's going to be in the file ID that we're passing through. And the message is just going to be the caption, which is process this PDF document. Sweet. So now when we send a message from Telegram, which would contain something like this, which is the file ID of the image or the PDF document, and the caption here, that's going to be passed through this AI agent to the PDF processor, and then it's going to be caught right over here as well. Okay, so we're making good progress. The next thing that I want to do here is I actually want to put in some mock data here, just because what I don't want to do is always have to send messages here and then wait for this to happen and then come over here, and it's just like it's a nightmare that that will take like a 30-minute build and turn it into something that takes like 2 hours. So what we're going to do is we're just going to put in some sample data here just to speed this up significantly. And I'm going to first of all copy this file ID here. And we're going to paste this in here, and we can see that it added this quotation onto a new line here. So I'm just going to back that up, and then we have a message, which is process this PDF document. I'll copy that, throw it in the message file here, and we're good to go. I'm going to click save, and now if we run this, we have all the information coming through, which is nice. And so the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to Telegram, and I actually want to download that file. So I'm going to choose the get a file button here, or action here, and we can pass in this ID right through here to the file section here, which means that we're now going to download this file from this subagent. So we can go ahead, test this out, and now we have the data over here. Okay, perfect. So now this has been downloaded, and the next thing that I want to do is I want to, and we can just take a look at this actually. So I'm just going to download this, and we'll open this up in a new tab. So we have the same PDF as what we started with over here, right? Which is pretty nice. So what I want to do is I want to get these line items from here, and I want to add these to a Google Sheet, but we need to identify, like we need to first of all turn this from a PDF document into text, and then once we get the text, we need to actually get the right text and enter that into a Google Sheet. So how we're going to do this is a multi-step approach. The first thing we're going to do is select OpenAI, and we're going to use, actually it's not going to be OpenAI. We're going to extract from a file. So the first thing is we're going to extract from a PDF file. We're going to turn this from a PDF into text here. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's try this out. So I've ran this, I've downloaded that file, which we can see over here. And then I have extracted from a PDF. And if I switch this over to JSON data up top here, we can see the text here. And so we can just cross-reference this. Invoice payment is due within 30 days from the date of the invoice. Let's go back here. Now, let me just take a look and see where that, okay, so it's pulling it in from here. Payment is due from 30 days from the invoice. Late payment is subject to a 5% monthly fee. And okay, gotcha. So it's starting to pull in information. I don't know why it starts at the bottom there, but apparently it does. Cool. And so it's pulling in all of this data here, right? It's converted this whole thing into text. And now what we want to do is, and this is kind of what I was referring to earlier when I was saying it's unstructured, right? We just have this massive blob of text, but it's not really that useful because it's just like this massive brick wall of just nothingness. And it's like, you know, we want to take this unstructured data and we want to structure it. And when I mean structure it, I mean like we want to have it go into these columns here: name, price, line item, invoice number, quantity, invoice total, date. Right? So we're taking a block of text and we're migrating it over to a format like this. And so how we do that is we use OpenAI or ChatGPT, and we're going to message a model here. This is just a fancy way of saying that we're going to use generative AI to do something. Generative AI, you can think of like we're using AI to generate us an output of data that's structured. And so let's talk about this, what I mean by data and being structured, but I'm going to kind of answer that through setting up this OpenAI module here. And so first things first, we're going to check our credentials and make sure that I, in fact, have the right account connected in because it's not OpenAI number 7 anymore. But I'm going to choose the right account here, select a model. You can really, like, for me, I'm just going to use 4.0 Mini just because it's, it's just, it works, and Mini just means that it's going to take up less credits, which means it's going to charge you less to roll this out. And we're going to use 3 messages here. The first one is going to be a system message, then a user message, and then a assistant message. You can see that there's 3 messages total here. You can honestly think about, like, OpenAI, you guys did the worst freaking job naming these things. I have no idea. Like, you took something that was simple and you made it so freaking complicated. I just don't understand. It's like going to university and like trying to read like a postdoctorate message where you're just like, are you writing this way because it's actually that complicated, or you're just trying to make yourself sound smarter than you actually are? Kind of one of those situations. And so essentially, you can think about this like input, output, and the parameters here, or the context, or the settings. So the user message here is the input. What are we inputting into this scenario? The assistant message is the output. What are we trying, like, we're defining how we want the output to be structured. And then with the system message, this is just the parameters or the additional context that you're providing to the model for it to understand what it is that you're actually freaking trying to do in the first place. So that's more or less how I like to think about it. So in the system message, I'm just going to say you're an intelligent bot that is capable, that is fantastic, at pulling out data from text. And I'm going to say JSON data from text, essentially that. And we'll drag this down a bit. I'm going to say from invoices or receipts or documents. So that's essentially just providing context to it. And then for the text, I'm going to say, here is the document you need to pull data from. and we'll flip this over to JSON here and then pass in this text, which is this massive wall of text. So we'll go ahead and do that. So we're actually giving it the input, which is what is it, like what is the actual text that we're trying to work with here. And then we need to structure the output here. How do we want this data to go from unstructured to structured, which brings me back to the question, or the statement I made earlier, is we're going to talk about structuring unstructured data. And we do this through the assistant message here. So the first thing is I'm going to say, I want you to output this data as JSON data in the following format. Now what JSON data is, and I have a whole video on this, is one of the most boring things that people hate watching, but is probably the #1 most useful thing that people can learn in n8n, because I consult hundreds of businesses every single month. I would say the vast majority of the problems people come to me with is like literally mostly concentrated around JSON data. So it's just tremendously useful to know. But this is just a way to format information. CSV files are a way of formatting information as well. JSON data is just this on the left-hand side. This is essentially the backbone of n8n. And so we don't have to know how to do this. We just have to know what we want. And so if we open up ChatGPT here, and I can just ask it to generate me JSON data. So please, and I say please here just because I'm Canadian, and every Canadian says please when interacting with AI. Please generate me JSON data for a standard invoice. Please generate me sample JSON data for a standard invoice. And so it's just going to do all of the heavy lifting for us. And we can go ahead and we can grab all this information here. And so you can like add things in here if it doesn't cover everything you're looking for. You can also remove things. And so it's really is flexible. It's really flexible, just because anything you want to pull out, you can pull out. You can apply to any document, right? So even if you were to pass in like 30 different formats of receipts, it doesn't matter. It's still going to be able to find the specific invoice number of that receipt, right? So no matter what, like this document might have an invoice number up here, another one might have an invoice number down here or whatever, and there might be 30 variants of where the invoice number is, but this data is still always going to pull it out every single time. There might be occasional mistakes, of course, but most of the time it should be good. And so we have our structured data here, and I'm just going to flip this over to expression and open this up so you guys can kind of see it, but this is more or less the output that we want it to have, where we're going to structure it with pulling out things like invoice number, invoice date, due date, billing info, name, company, address, city, state, blah, 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 all this kind of stuff, line items, every single one of them. It's going to pull it all out. It's going to put in the correct information found on the receipt or invoice that we're actually using. And so obviously super powerful stuff. I'm going to close this. The only other thing we need to do is just make sure to output the content as JSON data here. What this is meaning is that we want to output it as JSON data. So if we actually look at this, this is JSON data. You can see the colors and everything like this, but you can also have JSON data as text. And this is literally just JSON data as text. Like we just threw it into a text box here. We don't want it in a text box. We want it as actual JSON data here, because this is like the backbone of n8n. Like you can also kind of see this is JSON data here, but JSON data, like you could easily have this as just in like a text field here, and it would be a text with the kind of formatting of JSON, but it would be confined within a text. So we just want to make sure that when we output the content here, it's actually coming back as JSON with like square braces like this and like that and all that kind of stuff. And so we can go ahead and we can test this out, and we should get the ideal format that we're looking for. It's not going to find everything, right? Because not every single agreement is going to have this kind of stuff. But we have like invoice number here, invoice date, due date, billing info, line items, all of this kind of stuff. So that looks good. Next thing we're going to do is something called a split out. This is, it's not something you absolutely need, but it's something that I would definitely recommend going through. And so with this being said, we are going to pass in here let me just see here. I'm going to switch over to schema. We're going to do the line items here. So let me explain what's going on. Let's take this receipt, for example. We have 4 line items, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on and so forth. Maybe you want, and this is just up to taste, so I want to throw this in here just to give extra options. Maybe you want a different row for every single line item. So what I'm doing here is I'm using a split out, which is going to go through each line item one by one by one by one. So we're going to start here, line item 1, and we're going to go through this. And that's going to be like the 14 JR, DSR, whatever. Then we're going to go to line item 2, and we're going to go through that, and we're going to add to this spreadsheet. Then we're going to go to line item 3, and then add that in here, and then finally line item 4, and add that in here. Very similarly to how we kind of, and that was probably the worst drawing I've ever done in my entire life, but very similarly to how we have it structured here, where we're going through each one individually. So let's go ahead and set this up. We have pulled in the line items over here and added them right in here, and this is now going to go through them one by one, and we can add them into the Google Sheets module here. We're going to choose append, which is a fancy way of saying row. This will be in the blueprints for free down below in the description, and so we're going to take this and we're going to take that data and enter it into this spreadsheet here. So first things first, we'll connect in the account. This should be pretty simple by just essentially signing into your account if you're on the cloud version of n8n up here. If not, it'll be a bit more complicated. Then the second thing we want to do is actually find that spreadsheet, which is n8n OCR extraction. And we're going to select the right sheet. The right sheet is down here. I think about this more like a tab than anything else. And then we're going to add in the data one by one by one. We don't have any sample data on the side here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to test this workflow just so that we can have some live data to actually work with here. And then we'll be able to add this in here. It threw an error, no problem. That just means that we actually need to add values in here, and there's nothing that we've added down here. No problem whatsoever. And so we're gonna go ahead and do this. The first thing I wanna do is add in the line items here. And so we're gonna choose like price, name, all this kind of stuff. If there was like 10 different line items, they'd all have their own names and price, and these would change depending on that. And yeah, so that looks good to me. We can add in quantity here. We can add in invoice number. Where is that? Invoice number. Total on the invoice would be subtotal down here, or maybe total due. And then date. Let's just see the actual date. Sweet. And then line item. I guess this is kind of like the same thing. I'm just going to do description here and actually change this to be the something else. What do I want it to be? Maybe I'll just put like the name on the billing, the name of the company that billed us. Okay, we'll test this out. And in this instance, it's going to add one more line to column 7 here. So there we go. And if there is like, you know, again, if there is like 30 different things here, it would add 30 different line items to this document. So that's more or less how we can work with PDF documents. The next thing we're going to do is work with images. So I've gone ahead and held down Shift and then just moved over everything and hit copy here, as you can see on the right hand side there. And we're going to create a new workflow. And this time we're going to be processing images. And so I'll paste this in by hitting Command V, and I'm going to call this image processing. And very similarly to before, we're going to do the same thing, but this time we're working with images like this receipt right here. And so let's go ahead and do this. We're going to keep most things the same, which is why we copied it in, such as that message and the ID here. All we need to do is go back to the original workflow, and we're going to add in another tool. And this tool is going to be, tool right here, is going to be that secondary tool that we just created. And this is going to be image processing. We're going to title it that. And I'll call this image tool. And the description, again, is how the AI agent knows when to use this. I'm going to say call this tool when you're processing images via OCR. And we're going to choose that workflow based on its name here. So image processing. And unfortunately, I have two workflows identically with the same name. So I'm going to just call this image processing 2. Close out of this and open it back up just so that it refreshes again and it pulls in that correct one. So image processing, and then we can just add in the message and the ID here. So the the file ID here is going to be down here, and the message will be the caption once again. Okay, perfect. So this looks good to me. The only thing is we have a pinned message here, which means that we're always using the same frickin' message every single time. So what I want to do is I want to unpin this because I want to actually get an image or a message of an image. So we're going to test this out. And this time we're going to attach another file here. And this time it's going to be that particular image here. So I'm going to say, please process this image. Okay, and it's uploaded. And now it's going over to the image processing section here, and it's failing, which is totally fine. I'm just going to pin this first post. It's failing because we haven't set this up properly yet. And yeah, just keep in mind too, when we're putting in information like the message and the ID here, you need to get it right on the first message, because if you try and do follow-up messages without processing them the first time, it's not going to work. And you can structure this however you want. I'm just giving you kind of like the bare bones, and you can take it and build whatever you want with it. But essentially, we're just pulling the information directly from this message. So if you were to put a second message here from Telegram, it's not, that second message isn't going to include the file ID or whatever. So yeah, just keep that in mind. So now with this, we're going to make a couple modifications here. I'm going to unlink this, and firstly, we're going to go over to this first section here, and I just want to grab the right ID of that image, because right now we have the saved PDF file because we copied this from the PDF path. So I'm going to open up the main Telegram trigger here, and we're going to copy this file ID section here, and we're going to paste it in here. And now this is the ID of that image, and I'm going to say process this image, just like that. Nothing more. Okay, cool. We can test this out, and let's take a look and see, did we actually download the correct image here? And we can see that we downloaded it, so we're all good on that end. Next, what I want to do is I want to actually convert this to text. And so initially what I'd like to do is open up OpenAI, and I want to analyze an image. And in this, I'm just going to say, please pull out all the text from the image. And we can choose the input type as binary. This is currently a binary file. It's not a URL, so we can choose this. And by default, it's going to grab data. We can see data up top here, so it's going to pull in the right information. And again, the model that we're choosing, I mean, yeah, I'm just going to choose OpenAI 4.0, of course, after I change the OpenAI credentials up top here. And yeah, so that looks good to me. Or we can just choose the latest model here. And we can go ahead and test it, and it's not going to work. And the reason it's not going to work is because it has this meme or whatever type that's wrong. It's expecting a image, but we can see over here that it's this octet stream. And I think this is just an issue with like Telegram, where they don't actually like give you back the JPEG file. It's like in some other MIME type, and it just doesn't play nicely for whatever reason with OpenAI here. And so what I found the workaround to be here is I added in another node in between this, and I just typed in image, and I chose edit image, and what I selected from here was, I think it was a composite image. And so essentially I'm just putting in data here, and what's going to happen is it's going to take this and it's going to add in another image on top of this. And let's just see, where do I want to include this? Yeah, I think just over is fine. But we're essentially overlaying an image on top of this, I think is what's going on here. And it's just like a transparent image over top of it. So it's just essentially recreating a new image with a transparent layer or something like that, which means it's still the same image. Nothing's really changed. It's just changing the file type so that now it's something that we can actually work with. So let's go ahead and test this out. And we've gone ahead, we've edited the image as like the most weird backwards way of doing things, but it works. And now we can see that we've pulled out the text here because now we've got it into the right file type. So for whatever reason, Telegram's like octet stream file or MIME type or meme or MIME or whatever it is, it works with the edit image module node, but it doesn't work with the OpenAI node. I don't know why, just it is the way it is. And we're going to connect this back in here. And the only thing we need to do is just essentially actually pull in this data from here. So we need to grab the right content because since we copied this from our PDF document here, it's pulling in the information from the extract from a file module, but we want to pull this in from the OpenAI analyze image. So this is literally just analyzing this image. Okay, so it's going through and it's like pulling out this text from that image, right, in a JPEG format, which is super cool. Works the same way as a PDF document, I guess. And so we're able to grab that information from that image, turn it into text. And we can kind of see here's the text from the receipt, and it pulls in Marshalls and Carson Valley Plaza, 911 Topsy Lane, all that kind of stuff. So let's go back and let's see Carson Valley Plaza, 911 Topsy Lane. Okay, perfect. So it's pulling everything out, and then we connected in the data from this analyze image to the ChatGPT module. So now we're plugging in the information in that user message, and we can go ahead and test this out. And now it's just going to go through line item by line item. Keep in mind there should be 4 line items here, right? And it's going to add this in to our spreadsheet here. So we just got it. And yeah, let's take a look. Marshalls, $19.99, $19.99, $24.99, $24. And we can cross-reference that from this actual receipt here. And let's take a look. So $19.99, okay, perfect. And this all looks good. And then it's grabbing in the $95.29. And that's the Amex total down here. And so that's essentially it, right? In a nutshell, we built a AI agent that's capable of handling images and PDF documents. We have a tool for PDF processing, a tool for image processing, and then these tools will go ahead, strip the text from these documents. We'll turn it from an unstructured text into structured JSON data, and then we're going to send that over to our Google Sheet here. Now, this is just one use case for this, but we could do this with multiple different file types. If there's a different file type that you want to grab data from, I'm sure you could add another tool in here and have something for other file types as well. And you don't just have to send it to Google Sheets, but you could probably upload this into QuickBooks Online as well, or your accounting software, or you could do whatever it is you want with this, right? You could even send this as an email, like a Gmail to your accountant, or you could do a million and one things. This is just a really easy and practical way of doing this. So thanks guys so much for watching this video. I hope you found value in it. Once again, the blueprints are going to be down below for free if you guys do end up wanting to download that. And if you guys are looking for additional resources or additional help with your journey along AI automation, I highly recommend you taking a look at my school community over here. We have 314 members. Started like just over, I think, a month ago or something like that. And there's just tons of resources here for n8n, Go High Level, Make.com, all of my blueprints in here, weekly group calls, 5 days a week. And then on top of that, you know, there's just a classroom section that you can get tons of additional information on these tools and be set up for success. So if that sounds like something that you're interested in, then I highly recommend taking a look at that. Once again, really appreciate your time. If you have any comments, leave them down below in the description or in the comment section. If you guys liked this video and you want to see other videos just like this one, then please hit that subscribe button, because I'm going to be releasing content like this literally all the freaking time. Thank you guys once again. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.